Welcome to Kevin's European Garage, and unfortunately it's just started winter, and tomorrow it's going to snow up here in Boston. I don't think it's going to amount to anything, but so I'm going to basically be talking about winter car prep, as I've got to change out my 22s and go back to the factory size wheels with my snow tires, and I'm going to show you what I do to prep my car for the winter. Okay, so I got my front tires off over here, and we're going to check the summer tire for its tread depth. And they recommend about 630 seconds on a tire to use in the winter. So let's see where these are. These are right at 430 seconds. I wouldn't run this in the winter. I would definitely run this, and these are at 1230 seconds. This is a little handy tool. You can pick up one of these tools at any auto parts store for a couple bucks. But like I said, the recommended minimum depth, about 630 seconds. And this was my last summer with these tires. I won't even use these tires next summer. So I'm going to be replacing these tires. And I'll probably go with another set of Continentals. I really like these. These are pretty quiet, comfortable tires. Wear pretty good. You got a fair amount of mileage out of them. So I'll probably be using these again. But before we put the tires on, we're going to inspect the brakes. We might also do it really quick while they got the tires off. That's if you have snow tires. But if you don't have snow tires, you can still kind of peek through most wheels and be able to see how much pad material you had left. I happen to have this handy tool that tells me how much pad I have left. So I can sneak that in between the rotor and the pad. And this is reading... I got 5 millimeters left, and that was loose in there. So I'd imagine I have more, probably about 6 millimeters or so left. Even more than that, 7 or so. I don't recommend, or anyone else doesn't recommend, going anywhere below 2 millimeters. And that's the thickness of 2 millimeters, as opposed to approximately most brand new brake pads. So also we're going to check the inside pad. Sometimes the inside pad always doesn't wear evenly compared to the outside pad, which is easy for you to see. So that's why we check the inside. A lot of times they can not wear evenly, wear at an angle where even though it looks good on top, it doesn't really look good on bottom, and not seated properly against the rotor. So it's just a good idea, if you do have the wheels off, just to take a look at these. And also, don't forget to torque them. I torque these to 95 foot-pounds. And now you're going to repeat what I just did on the other side. And after we're all done, we're going to also check the tire pressure too. So next, what we're going to get to is what we got going on underneath the hood. Okay, so this video isn't Porsche specific. You can do this with any car. So the first thing I do is I always go through and pick up all the leaves and anything else that you might see floating around inside here so it doesn't get sucked into the car. Next, I'm going to use windshield washer fluid. And make sure you get the right stuff for your area. Usually around here, it never gets down to minus 20. So this stuff is going to be fine. But if you live up north, you know, this could be an average day in your winter. So just make sure you get the right kind of fluid. You don't want it to freeze on you. So next we're going to check our coolant level in the reservoir. And this one is topped off, so this one doesn't need it. And make sure that you use the proper coolant. Not all coolant is created equal, and if you mix the wrong coolant in a certain car, you can actually cause some damage and possibly make it overheat. A couple different kinds of coolants don't mix well together. So just make sure you get the proper kind for your vehicle. Next, let's check the engine oil. Some cars, like this one, don't actually have a dipstick, and you have to read the electronic readout that's in the dash. If you do have a dipstick, just make sure that you're right in the middle of the high and the low, and that should be good. Okay, and lastly, we're going to check the brake fluid. And this thing is right up to the top. And the power steering fluid. Most new cars have an electric power steering motor. This one still happens to have hydraulic power steering. And my fluid's a little low. I don't have any leaks underneath, but it is a little low, so I'm just going to top it off. And now we're topped off properly. Okay, so let's go around and check in our lights. So now I just have the regular parking lights on. I have both my license plate lights. You can see the reverse fog lights. Headlights, turn signal lights, fog lights. Now we can check our high beams. All right, now we can check our brake lights. Most new cars, they have warnings built into it so that if you have a light out, whether it be brake, headlight, or anything, it will give you a warning on the dash. The Porsche will tell you if you have any light bulb out, so you don't actually have to physically do this. But most cars, they don't have that feature, so you're going to have to manually check it. And to do so, you can either have a buddy sit in the car or prop something between the brake and the steering wheel like I did. And this is just an old hood prop tool that I use. All right, so the next thing I'm going to be checking is the wiper blades. Okay, so on this car, the wiper blade comes off pretty easy. And normally what I do is inspect it, you know, if it's on the car or if I take it off like this one. Make sure there's no tears in any of the edges. Usually that's where it goes first, is right over there. Sometimes in the middle, but I just make sure that there's no rips, no tears. Make sure there's no little sections missing or anything. And sometimes you can have a little bit of streaking. And what I'll do is if I got a little bit of streaking, I'll take something like a Scotch-Brite pad and I'll just kind of go lightly over the rubber to kind of clean it up a little bit. And like I got a little bit of streaking on this one, but the blade looks like it's pretty good. So I'm just gonna give it a quick little wipe down. Nothing too hard. I don't want to try to take off any real material or anything like that. I just kind of want to clean it up. I use the Scotch-Brite because it kind of scuffs it up just ever so slightly, and that feels pretty good. I'm gonna put this back on the car, and I'll repeat it for the other side. All right, so that's how I clean the wiper blades, and I do it for the front and rear of my vehicles. Okay, so one of the last things I do is I put some Rain-X on the car. And this time around, I'm going to be using the Rain-X, the 2-in-1, the glass cleaner and the rain repellent, instead of just the regular original one, where you have to use something first to clean the glass and then apply the stuff. So I'm going to try this one out to see how this one works. If it works pretty good, it cuts out a step. And all right, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this dry, and then I'm going to reapply it again. So this is the last final wipe down of the glass. And the final thing we have to check is this tire pressure. So this is the tire pressure information. This can be found on most vehicles right next to the door down over here. And sometimes it's located over here on the door. I really like using the snow broom to clean off the car. What's nice about it is you're telescoping, so you can just kind of reach it up on top of the roof of the vehicle, like such, without any issues. So these are great things for the winter. And they also don't scratch the paint, so that's another nice plus. And also don't forget the all-important scraper. So thanks for watching me do my winter car prep. This isn't all-inclusive. I mean, there's probably other things you can do for different cars that might require a little bit different stuff. But for the most part, this is the basics and they can be applied to any vehicle, not just a Porsche. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like my video, and also don't forget to ring the notification bell so you know when I'm coming out with new stuff. All right, thanks a lot.